I possess all the skills in the world, from unlocking a lock in 5 seconds to cheating at casinos. To lie detection and combat skills, I've completed 100,000 perfect crime simulations. Of course, these all happened in my dreams, but I relied on these skills during the criminal police recruitment assessment, and achieved an unprecedented perfect score. After all, understanding the most perfect criminal allows you to become the best criminal police officer. Just last night, I completed the final perfect crime simulation these 4 years. I haven't had a good night's sleep, but it was all worth it. Congratulations to the host for completing 100,000 simulated crimes. All special skills have been learned. What he doesn't know is that today is my first day of administrative duty. Instead of being a criminal who gets away with everything, I'd rather eliminate all evil myself. Brother Ning. Hurry up and wake up, we can't be late today. Chun Fei Yu and Wang Kai, right? Welcome to the Huaihai District Administrative Brigade. After a 1-year probationary period, as long as you don't make any major mistakes, you can be directly promoted to a permanent position. Having performed meritorious service allows you to get promoted early. Do you have any questions? Reporting, leader, I hope you can assign me to the front line to directly participate in the investigation of various criminal cases. To learn through practice. Alright, you two come with me. There happens to be an arrest mission this afternoon. I'll have Xiao Su take you, although it's not a major case. It'll allow you to see the world. Xiao Su, I'm giving you 2 newbies. Let them participate in this afternoon's arrest mission. Understood, Master. You two come with me, although there are still a few hours before the scheduled arrest. We have to go to the hideout first. This arrest is targeting a number 4 drug deal. The buyer and seller are transacting for the first time. The two are not familiar with each other. The transaction location they arranged is on Zhongshan Road Pedestrian Street. There are many tourists with a large flow of people which can perfectly cover their actions. In addition to us, there are more than a dozen people involved in this operation. They will be hidden in various corners and places. You two just follow me so as not to cause any trouble and alert them. Understood. After explaining these things, Su Dingtian was about to open the car door, but found that the keys were not on him. He stuck to the car window and looked carefully. Damn it. The car keys are in the car. This is troublesome. Seeing him anxious and frustrated, I went directly to the iron railing not far away and casually tore off a magnetic strip. Brother Tian, let me try to see if I can open it. Okay. You try it. I'll find a locksmith's number. As soon as he finished speaking, I had already opened the car door. Brother Su stood there dumbfounded, with his phone raised to his ear. Stop, talk. Su Dingtian asked curiously on the way. Who taught you this kind of lock-picking speed? It's faster than the average master. I learned it online. I prefer to study these little things. Brother Su laughed and said, as expected of the first person in history to get a perfect score. If you weren't a criminal police officer, I would have dragged you to do shady things. Soon, Brother Su parked the car on Zhongshan Road, at the entrance of Pedestrian Street. It just so happens to be parked in the middle of the intersection. You two observe. Which ones are our people? Let me see. In this reconnaissance subject, are you qualified or not? Brother Tian, I don't see any problems. Are there really any of our people on this street? Of course. But they are all well hidden. After all, if you could see it so quickly, then the fish might be scared away. Isn't that right? Fourth brother. There are a total of 4 of our people on this main street. Xiao Yu. You're not just guessing, are you? 4? Can you say who the 4 people are? The first one is the fruit stand in the center of the street, the owner of the stall under the parasol. He doesn't promote when customers come, but he looks around too obviously. The second one is the customer in the convenience store. Although he bought Odin and beer to cover it up, he only eats Odin and doesn't drink any beer. It's also obvious. The third is the tour guide farthest away, although he is holding a tour guide flag, and took the tourists to the store, but when he should have asked the tourists for money, he took out the money himself. This is an abnormal action. The fourth one is the best hidden, but it's not completely flawless. Is the security guard nearest to us who specifically intercepts vehicles and does not allow them to enter the pedestrian street. Although there are no major problems with the external situation and actions, his expression betrayed him. As I said that, I looked at Brother Su. Do you know what a real intersection security guard is like? They should be impatient and irritable, not even wanting to say half a sentence, instead of patiently pointing out parking lots to the cars like this. Although it can be explained as the first day of work. Not yet poisoned by this kind of boring work, full of curiosity about everything, but there is no sound or nervous expression on his face. These multiple details combined are enough to prove his identity. Am I right? Brother Tian, Old Chen, just sell your fruit properly. Don't ignore the customers when they come. Xiao Su, change the beer on your desk to Coke. Give me a sip from time to time. And when you are a tour guide, explain well to the tourists. Don't let them stand outside dumbfounded. Finally, Shaolin, as a security guard, be more irritable. How can a security guard patiently answer questions from car owners? Your disguise is scaring the fish away. Brother Yu, how did you see that? Why don't I see any problems? Could it be that I'm not suitable to be a criminal police officer? Observe more, analyze more. It won't be long before you can see the tricks. Don't doubt yourself. It's not that you're not suitable, it's just that Fei Yu is too suitable. Okay, let's get out of the car. Brother Su told us that all we know about the seller is that he is a middle-aged man. Medium build and slightly overweight. Pay attention to observing later and don't miss any suspicious people. We occasionally take a bite of food, but our eyes are always on the passing pedestrians. Wang Kai looked at his phone and picked up the ID number. This ID number looks a bit new. Is it broken? It's not broken. It should be that the store owner took the exam a little recently. The two were talking in code, and just then, a thin man in construction clothes walked by. Speaking of this ID number, the one from Lushan is still the best. I heard that the Lushan ID number has also matured recently. I just don't know when to ask workers to harvest it. Wang Kai understood and pretended to be finished eating, picked up his phone and got up. How much, boss? I stretched and pressed the headset at the same time. The seller appeared, wearing yellow construction clothes, about 165 centimeters tall. I can clearly smell the residual burning and sour smell of shisha number 4 on his body. I suggest not to act for the time being. Wait for another fish to appear. Brother Su also pressed the headset. Old Chen, Xiao Shui. The fish are swimming towards you. Follow them. Not long after, Old Chen's voice suddenly came from the earpiece. There's a situation. The fish threw a cigarette case, directly mixed into the crowd, and is about to leave. Xiao Su and I are following from a distance. This fish can't escape. A smile appeared on the corner of Brother Su's mouth as he picked up the car keys on the table. Let's go to the car. After parking the car at the alley Old Chen mentioned, Brother Su suddenly opened his mouth. Xiao Yu, how did you lock onto the suspect so quickly just now? Besides the burning and sour smell. Yeah, bro, how did you know? I shrugged. Let's not talk about the burning and sour smell. This is a very significant characteristic of shisha number 4. As for the judgment, first of all, there is no construction site near Zhongshan Road pedestrian street, and it is working hours now. Also, there is only tension and anxiety in that person's eyes. It doesn't seem like he came here urgently. The most important thing is that there are no spots or dust on his clothes, since he didn't have time to change. How can there be no trace on his body? So there is only one possibility. He didn't go to work on the construction site at all. Wearing clothes is just to cover up. In fact, the best way to hide should be to put on the clothes of a sanitation worker and carry a waste recycling bag using garbage to cover up the smell. When looking for bottles in the trash can, throw the cigarette case containing number 4 drugs next to the trash can and wait for the buyer to pick it up. If that's the case, even if we send more people, it will be difficult to catch him. Wang Kai opened his mouth wide and took a breath of cold air. Does it have to be so exaggerated? Brother Yu, you have even thought of the best criminal methods. Brother Su also smiled and patted me on the shoulder. It's a good thing you are a criminal police officer, otherwise even I might not be able to catch you. Ha ha ha. Just then, another voice rang in the headset. The suspect has appeared. Old Su, what to do? Should we close the net? Brother Su frowned and did not answer. I am also analyzing. In this situation, something is not right. Normal drug users are afraid of being caught during the transaction. They will never be like him, standing there smoking and making phone calls after getting the goods. This situation, there are only 3 possibilities. Either this is a reckless guy who doesn't know the country's determination to fight drugs. But someone who can directly buy 25 grams cannot possibly be a reckless person who has just started using drugs. The second possibility, this guy is addicted to drugs, but this man only checked the purity, which means this is not a likely reason. So this is a complete desperado, carrying major cases on his back. If he is caught, he will be sentenced to death. Having become completely numb, naturally there's no fear of the police. The most crucial thing is, this man definitely has an accomplice, and that accomplice is the one who sent him to buy. Otherwise, he wouldn't immediately call back to report. And the cigarettes he's smoking are the Shangbeichen brand, quite popular in the Dongbei provinces. Forget it. No more waiting. Let's start now. Hold on. I suspect this man is a drug fugitive on the run from the Dongbei provinces, and there is at least one accomplice. Don't close the net yet. Wait a moment. Don't take action yet. I need to further verify his identity here. Wait for my order, Kai. Check the recently released fugitive list from the Dongbei provinces. See if there's anyone who looks similar to this man. An A-class fugitive has 3 lives on his hands. Situation change. This man is an A-class fugitive from Jilin province, with an accomplice. Don't stir things up for now. Lao Chun and Xiao Su, close the net on your side first. Be careful, wait until he's not on the phone to make a move. Who knew catching a drug addict would lead to such a big fish? Xiao Yu is good. To be able to lure him over here, Xiao Yu is good. To be able to so keenly notice something was wrong. If we can catch them all in one swoop this time, it will definitely be a great achievement. But I'm a bit curious. How did you figure it out? Yeah, brother Yu, tell us quickly. Actually, there's nothing strange about it. I just look at the fugitive identification list every once in a while. Just now, I only felt that the person looked familiar. As the seller was arrested, everyone's attention was focused on the fugitive Luozhen. But Luozhen never took any action. He even went to the store to change into a new pair of pants. But he kept taking out his phone to check it from time to time. It was as if he was waiting for instructions. Brother Su even thought the person being followed was exposed. If that were the case, Luozhen shouldn't be in this state. As an experienced veteran detective, Brother Su immediately thought of the source of the problem. Sure enough, the seller's phone had 2 missed calls. Luozhen's accomplice is trying to contact the seller. And if the seller is afraid now, he won't be able to say a word. As soon as he answers the phone, he'll be exposed immediately. But if he doesn't answer the phone, those 2 fugitives will probably wake up soon. Chung, can you use the fastest speed to bring the seller and the phone to Brother Shang here? I can imitate the seller's voice to answer the phone. Brother Su was stunned for a moment. Xiao Yu, are you sure? Brother Shang, I think we can give it a try. Wang Kai, listening to my changed voice, his eyes were filled with shock and amazement. Brother Su pressed the button without hesitation. Lao Chen, hurry up and bring the seller over. Come down. Lao Chen took out the phone in the evidence bag. An unprovoked sense of horror, because the phone showed another incoming call. I periodically didn't look at the seller while speaking. The seller was trembling with fear, his lips quivering, but he couldn't say anything. But the current situation doesn't allow for waiting. Speak. Whatever the police tell you to say, you have to let me say. I really don't know. After hearing this, I took the evidence bag from Lao Chun, cleared my throat lightly, and stretched my voice. I took out the seller's phone and turned to tell Su Shang, don't put all your hopes on Luozhen. It's best to have the technical team track the location of this phone number immediately while I'm answering the phone. Then, after everyone was quiet, I answered the phone. Hello, who is it? Why keep calling? Are you in a hurry to die? I'm having fun. Hey dog brother, I've already received that batch of goods. That stuff is really pure. Don't talk nonsense. Just enjoy smoking it. You'll die if you don't have any more. Hangs up brother Yu, what are you doing? Why did you suddenly hang up the phone? The previous was just a test. The real contest has only just begun. That's something. That's a clever counter-logic. After all, in the minds of fugitives, the police wouldn't be willing to hang up the phone in order to catch them. Is your mother looking to die? I said I'm having fun. Dog brother, don't be impatient. Isn't it because this brother has big business? Something urgent? You should be able to tell. I'm not a local. The previous batch of goods was just a test, to see if Dog Brother's goods are pure. This time, I want 2 blocks to take to Jilin province to sell. Make a profit, 2 pieces, 1 piece is 250 grams. 2 pieces are 500 grams, 1 piece is 250 grams, 2 pieces make half a kilogram. You wouldn't be a cop trying to lure me out, would you? How could that be, dog bro? But the amount is right, we're also afraid of you local snakes, so the transaction location is chosen in a derelict factory in the Modu Dongning district. How about it? You little bastard. Afraid I'll double-cross you? After so many years in Modu, who doesn't know? Never mind, wait for me at that factory. I'll go over when my high wears off. Xiao Li, that May 13th Modu University dismemberment case, is it about to exceed the statute of limitations? Yes, Team Su, it's been almost 20 years since the first case was filed. There are only 2 months left before the statute of limitations expires. The case details haven't been updated in 5 years, and it's now almost our Huaihai district. One of the biggest unsolved cases. Go through the formalities for extending the statute of limitations. As long as I'm still here, I will never allow the murderer to go unpunished. I believe there is no perfect crime in this world. It's just that we haven't caught the most important evidence. Stop sucking up. How could he still be able to wield a knife? Do you think that skinny dog will really come? Look, isn't he here? How could he not make money? Go open the iron gate. Police, don't move. Go quickly, don't come over. Target controlled, perimeter cleared. The arrest operation is over. Thank you all for your hard work. Let's go back. This operation was very good. Xiao Yu is indeed the first one to get a perfect score on the administrative assessment. Of course, Xiao Kai is also very good. Team Su also said, we can now sign the contract from intern to permanent staff. Originally there was still a 1-year probationary period. I can become a full member and be issued a gun in just 3 more months, while Wang Kai will need 6 months. Team Su told us to consider carefully during this period whether to focus on frontline case solving or to focus on administrative technology courses. As he was leaving, Team Su suddenly gave me a task. Xiao Yu, if you have time these days, look through the files of the 20-year-old May 13th Moda University dismemberment case, see if you can discover any new clues. Work done, this time thanks to you, brother Yu. If the others in the class knew, they would probably be envious to death. By the way, brother Yu, do you think I should focus on frontline administrative case solving, or lean towards administrative technology? Kaizi, I think you have a talent for administrative technology. The most important thing is that administrative technology also comes with a gun, which can fulfill your wish. If it's surveillance, so be it, as long as I can get a gun. After comforting Kai Zi, I returned to my workstation and opened this 20-year-old unsolved case file. The file size of most criminal cases is basically no more than 200 pages. But this unsolved case actually has thousands of pages, which shows the official attention to it. I directly opened the deceased's body record section. With the experience of simulating crimes 10,000 times, I know that the victim's body contains the most important clues. The next second, a photo that is not much different from the beef in a normal braised food shop appeared. Just seeing this pile of meat slices may make uninformed people's index fingers twitch. However, as long as you take another look and see the half finger, your scalp will explode directly, feel nauseous, and all appetite will suddenly disappear. Only the thought of emptying your stomach is left, and next to it is a piece of text describing this photo. After this description are 4 other pictures of the scene where the victim's body was found. 3 of them are like this photo, which are mainly cooked meat slices packed in black plastic bags. The size and shape are also similar, and the last photo is the victim's head, which was chopped off and cooked. The hair has fallen out, the skin has burst, and the specific facial features can no longer be recognized. It is no exaggeration to say that even if it is just a picture, the terrifying impact can cause most criminal police officers to feel physically nauseous, or even have nightmares for several days. Dared not touch any more meat, but Su Min turned over page by page without any feeling. In his serious analysis, there was no trace of panic or discomfort, only a little hidden numbness. Or rather, even if it is the most tragic crime scene now, Su Min would not have any nervous emotions. After reading these 5 photos, Su Min leaned back in his chair, slightly squinting, and began to analyze seriously. The victim's body was discovered on May 13th, but the approximate time of death was around May 11th, not May 12th, because on those dismembered human tissues, it was evident that there was dark red blood within the muscles. This is because after death, the heart loses its ability to transport blood, and the blood flows downwards along the blood vessels, resulting in capillary congestion, commonly known as livor mortis. Livor mortis gradually appears within 24 hours after death. It develops to its peak after 12 to 24 hours, and finally becomes fixed within 24 to 36 hours, no longer shifting. Based on the number of livor mortis spots in the picture, and the fact that some are dispersed, not 100% solidified into clusters, the murderer did not choose to dismember the victim immediately after the murder. Instead, they left it for a period of time before slowly processing the victim's body. The time was approximately within 12 to 24 hours after the murder, placing the victim in a certain place to dismember and then carry out the terrifying dismemberment. From this, we can analyze that the murderer most likely did not act on a sudden impulse, nor was it an accidental manslaughter. Rather, it was premeditated, and they were very confident that their murder location would not be discovered in a short period of time. That's why they slowly waited until the livor mortis had formed to its limit before dismembering. Since it was a premeditated crime, then whether they had been targeting the victim for a long time, or randomly chose a suitable person to commit the crime, we can judge from this dismemberment method that the murderer has excellent mental fortitude. Either they are used to this kind of bloody scene, or they have an antisocial personality. Or their mental state is not right. After all, being able to cut the dismembered body into pieces, even with similar shapes and sizes, is not just carelessly hacking and cutting to cover up the crime. Further, we can deduce that the murderer has good knife skills, at least very skilled at cutting meat. Otherwise, the segments could not be so neat, and they may also have extremely severe obsessive-compulsive disorder because on some human tissues, we can clearly see traces of secondary trimming and lengthening, but obsessive-compulsive disorder cannot be 100% confirmed. This belongs to an important detail that can filter out many criminal suspects, inferring downwards, may fall into the trap dug by the murderer because in simulated crimes, Soo-min also once in the case, left almost 100% certain traces of obsessive-compulsive disorder patients in order to clear his own suspicion. As part of the perfect crime, at this moment, Soo-min looks at the 5 pictures on the computer. He sorted out his thoughts and muttered to himself, according to the 5 victims' bodies. First scene photos, the clues that can be roughly drawn are that the murderer premeditated this crime. The murder location has facilities for handling corpses and is extremely hidden, even if Motorcycle University reports the student missing as soon as possible. The murderer can be 100% sure that the police will not find him there. They have a very strong tolerance for corpses, and have years of experience dealing with similar situations. Or a natural antisocial personality, good knife skills, and may have obsessive-compulsive disorder. According to these 5 photos, it seems that the murderer's image can be locked to employees of slaughterhouses, or similar to roast duck restaurants and other braised, cooked food processing shops. This reasoning result looks very complete, but it is definitely not the correct answer. Otherwise these cases would not have been unsolved for 20 years. It is obvious that although I have not seen the subsequent files, Soo-min can roughly guess that the Hwai Administrative Brigade at that time, definitely at the first time, went to investigate slaughterhouse workers and the roast duck restaurants in the surrounding area. Just as Soo-min was preparing to continue checking the subsequent case file content, Soo Chang-sheng, wearing a police uniform, walked quickly into the office. He waved his big hand and said, "Xiao Mian, Hu Zi, you too. Stop what you are doing and come with me on a mission. We just received a police report. A fisherman in the Huainan River in our jurisdiction fished up a body. Now we need to see whether it is suicide or homicide. If it is a homicide case, it must be solved within 24 hours. Let's go, hurry up." Chapter 13. Not drowning, but strangling and throwing the body, homicide must be solved. It is not a slogan casually shouted out for show, but in 2004, it was an order issued by the Ministry of Public Security to various grassroots levels, striving to reduce the occurrence of crime through increased pursuit. The fact is just as the leaders above thought. Because of the pressure of solving homicide cases, the attitude and efficiency of major grassroots administrative organizations towards homicide cases have obviously increased several times, and basically 95% of homicide cases can be solved within 48 hours. This period is called the golden 48 hours. Among them, the 24 hours after the street alarm discovers the victim's body are the most crucial. The vast majority of key clues are found within this period, increasing the efficiency of solving cases. Dunai kung keen yu toi pham von mang tu, tuong mei rue phi chuan byuk va kong dam gay on truok tai du kung ran nuve. Pursuit methods. The timely police car on the highway stopped near the remote Huainan River in the suburbs. Although Modu is also a big city, there are still many suburbs with few people. Huainan River is such a place, except for the residents living nearby and the old men fishing. Basically, very few people come to stroll along the river. At this moment, the 3 people getting out of the police car saw a large area in the middle of the river channel from a distance. Ku vuk nai duok jong de kan bao, fa ben nguai ko rat nu oi tu tap zem. The old men and women point with their hands, seemingly discussing, speculating on something. Su Chongsheng frowned, stepped forward and shouted, "Hong hot lam gi, den sie chuan qua nuoi chet kung hong hot cho duok. Hurry up and disperse, don't hinder our police." This shout, Keen meong ba jia he bia hoa bong imbat, and hung van dung lang van quan du, kong chiu roi di. Tat sie du dung nguai hung rao kan gi oi, non chan quan sat tin hin siu the ben trong. Su Chongsheng didn't continue to say anything, looked at Su Min beside him, and Wang, who slowly walked to the security police who were closer to the scene after the deceased was discovered. They had already arrived at the scene first and asked the salvage team to salvage the body. It has not been put in a body bag yet. We need to judge the general cause of death and whether it is necessary to initiate an attack. If it is a suicide or an accidental drowning, the case can be closed. But if it is a homicide, it may be a little troublesome. These words made Su Min nod in agreement. Seeming to see the confusion in Wang Hu's eyes, Su Min explained. The corpses found in the water basically have no reference value at the first scene. After all, no one knows where it drifted from. We can only salvage it first. Judge the general cause of death. If there is a probability of homicide, then we need to initiate an attack. Judging from the current environment, I personally think the probability of accidental drowning. De no lam roy, Lycon by Mayong ba sung quan chi tero bontan nua. Can fi jiam din them. Chung takong the chukchan cho den kai ten mat nin thay ti the. Su Chongxing nodded in approval. He didn't expect Su Min's brain to turn so fast, able to rule out from the expressions and words of these old men and women. Kanong ko nuoi vio tin roi suong nuok. Saudu, onta vei tevanoi, chu min, dan don kwa ka rat naibin. How about this? You and old who will first conduct preliminary judgments and inspections on this body. I will supervise you. If there are any other problems, then we will call the forensic doctor to come for a detailed examination later. Forensic doctors are usually very busy at work. Not only do they have to help solve cases, but they also have to do a lot of public consultation and identify the cause of death through dissection. Therefore, the vast majority of criminal police have the ability to preliminarily identify corpses and analyze clues. Chukchan la het kech roy nuoi tamwa fino fap y den jup. Ba nuoi byuk veo ku vuk fong toa. What they saw was a woman's body, swollen, with a swollen face, pale gold. Them veo du, ti the kodao hu fan huine. Ninchung de lai moti zak chet. Chua den muc gitam dao. Sekon ko ca truong hop by fu any dun gam nuok nua. Chuk la du doi mu trum dao. The salvage team member, who was completely soaked, pointed to a bag next to him and spoke first. Police officer, when I was salvaging the body, because I couldn't get it up all the time, I jumped into the water to take a look and accidentally discovered that this body was tied to the waist. Chin vi bao tai fi tai ze dung nai ma tua kong dung no len duok. If someone hadn't accidentally hooked it while fishing, I guess. Although this salvage team member didn't finish speaking. Tatsie and hung nuoi komat du hu rang nu kong ko nuoi den kakia. Kolazak chet nai de kong duok tim fei cho den kai fan hui. At this moment, suicide can already be ruled out. Su Chongxing's expression also became serious. He frowned and looked at the body on the shore and waved his hand. Okay, got it. Let's examine the body first and see the specifics. As soon as he said this, Su Min and Wang Hu exchanged a glance, and then without much hesitation, they took out rubber gloves from the special toolbox and put them on to avoid causing any damage. Before inspecting, the two took several photos from various angles with a camera for later review and file preparation. Immediately after, Su Min took the lead and began carefully searching for clues. Wang Hu tacitly held the camera, squatting beside him, waiting for Su Min's orders. When they were studying at the police academy, the two had such a division of labor. Su Min took the lead in finding clues, and he was responsible for detailed photographic records and organizing files, each doing his part and using his abilities. At this moment, Su Min first looked at the female corpse as a whole, then took a top-down approach, prying open the female corpse's tightly closed eyelids. Carefully observing the color and size of the pupils, although soaked in water for several days, the deceased's upper and lower eyelids and membrane, and the inner and outer corners of the eyes, could still see obvious bruising. Then Su Min used tweezers to clamp the left nostril of the female corpse, gently wiping with a sticky label for a few seconds. There was not much silt or tears left. Then he pried open the female corpse's mouth. The teeth were not severely worn. There were no dentures either. However, the upper and lower rows of teeth were tense and presented a bright red color. Seeing this, Su Min narrowed his eyes slightly and pushed the female corpse's head back, carefully observing the state of the neck. Then Su Min looked at it from the front. Her eyes looking at the eyes, looking at the eyes, looking at the eyes, all tense, presenting a bright red color. Seeing this, Su Min narrowed his eyes slightly, pushing the female corpse's head back, carefully observing the state of the neck, a distinct half-finger wide. Purple-black bruise then appeared in sight. Su Min maintained his current posture and gave Wang Hu a look. Hu Zi, come take a picture of this. There wasn't much silt, mud, or liquid in the deceased's nasal cavity. This shows that there was no water inhalation while alive. She had already lost consciousness when she entered the water, or was dead. Plus, there are needle-like marks in front. At this moment, there is bleeding, the teeth are clenched and bright red, and the neck has purple-black bruising. It can now be roughly determined that the deceased did not die from drowning but was strangled. Then the body was dumped. Chapter 14 Secondary crime exists. Corpses never lie. Not drowned, but strangled to death and maliciously dumped. The current result undoubtedly increased the severity of the case significantly. Su Chongxing's expression became noticeably more serious. He took out his phone, dialed Huaihai administration. Old Chun, help me check the surveillance footage. Near the Huainan River from the past 5 days. An extremely heinous murder occurred here. We must hurry up and solve it. What? No surveillance on the Huainan River? Then check the surveillance cameras a few kilometers around to see if there are any suspicious reasons. Also, help me see if you've received any missing women reports recently. The age is around 23 years old. In the current era, the reason why the police's case-solving efficiency is so high is definitely due to the crucial role of Tianyan surveillance. But now, the lack of surveillance near the Huainan River undoubtedly increased the difficulty of this case a lot. We can only hope to find important clues on this corpse. While Su Chongsheng was arranging to review the Tianyan surveillance and the identity of the deceased, Su Min did not stop examining the body. After confirming the strangulation marks on the neck, he began to gradually analyze and observe downwards. The upper body of the corpse was wearing an off-the-shoulder top, and there was a colorful tattoo the size of half a palm on the collarbone. The abdomen was not significantly distended, indicating that the degree of internal organ decay was not high, and there was no gas accumulation. At the same time, further confirming that the victim died of suffocation and not drowning, the lower body was wearing tight jeans. There were obvious concave and fine marks on the pelvis. These were the marks caused by the building waste that was attached to the area. The clothes and pants all had international brand logos, but judging from the material and details, the clothes and pants were all special high imitations, not genuine. Slightly turning the corpse over, Su Min clearly found a large patch of uniform yellow mud on the buttocks of the jeans. The front right pocket also had some yellow mud on it. Seeing this, Su Ming looked up at the salvage worker next to him and asked, "Hello, I want to ask, when you were salvaging just now, did you drag the body on the ground?" The salvage worker, who was curiously watching the show, quickly waved his hand and replied, "Excuse me, we are professional salvage workers, how could we possibly drag the body on the ground? Not to mention, in our line of work, disrespecting a corpse is a real taboo. It's always a superstition and a bit of a taboo." Su Ming nodded slightly without saying anything more. He continued to focus his attention on the female corpse, noticing that the ring finger and index finger of her left hand had been cut off with a sharp object and discarded. But the wounds were not dry, and there was no sign of blood seeping out. The rest of her fingers had manicures. It could be seen that the deceased was exquisite in life. There were obvious ligature marks on her left wrist, bulging at both ends and constricted in the middle. Like a bracelet or watch, due to its limited tension, it prevented the corpse from absorbing water, decaying and swelling. Then, looking at the position of the right hand, it was the same as the left hand. Each finger had manicures, but Su Ming saw a large piece of sebum in the crevice of the index finger. He picked up the nail-sized skin fragment with tweezers, glanced at it roughly, and then put it into a quick seal bag for preservation. The deceased's pants were intact and showed no signs of tearing, indicating that she had not been sexually assaulted before her death. It is basically impossible to extract the murderer's DNA through body fluids. After examining the entire corpse, Su Ming squinted his eyes and thought carefully, verifying the clues he had obtained with the experience he had gained from simulations. After a few seconds, he took off his rubber gloves. He looked at Su Chongxing next to him and asked, "Brother Shang, I've basically finished looking at it here. Do you need to take another look yourself, or should we just put it in a body bag and send it to the funeral home?" "So you're done looking so quickly?" Su Chongsheng, who was contacting the Criminal Investigation Technical Department, turned his head, raised his eyebrows in surprise and continued, "Xiao Ming, tell me what detailed discoveries you've made." "The people from the Criminal Investigation Technical Department just called. They said that we haven't received any reports of missing young women recently, so we must start with the corpse. In the investigation of homicide cases, one of the most important things is to confirm the identity of the deceased, because about 90% of homicides are committed by acquaintances. As long as we can determine the identity of the deceased, we are not far from solving the case. But now there are no missing person reports that match, so we can only rely on the clues obtained from the corpse, or extract an image and compare it with the database to determine the identity of the deceased." Su Ming glanced at the female corpse next to him, and then said with confidence, "The victim is a female. Her height is about 165 centimeters. Her age can be judged based on her appearance and the degree of tooth wear. She is between 24 and 26 years old. Her daily life should be quite exquisite. This can be roughly judged from the manicures and clothing on her hands. But her own economy is not very good, because the clothes worn by the deceased are all high imitations of big brands. If we make a bold guess, we can also conclude that she has a vain personality. Or there is a situation where she needs to wear big-name clothes and, before her death, the victim was dressed exquisitely with double eyelid stickers on. And she was wearing light blue cosmetic contact lenses. Although her face has been soaked, we can still see some residue of cosmetics. Most girls will only dress up like this when they go out. It can be judged that the deceased was dressed up to meet someone or participate in an event. As a result, she unexpectedly encountered misfortune, greatly increasing the probability of a crime committed by an acquaintance. Speaking of this, the several security police officers standing next to him all gasped in unison. They looked at each other, full of shock. Is it really that exaggerated? In just a few simple minutes, you can get so many clues from the corpse. Sure enough, criminal police are all monsters. Su Chongxing was a little surprised for a while. He was on the phone contacting the technical department before and didn't pay attention to Su Ming's specific inspection sequence and details. Now, hearing Su Ming's deduction, Su Chongxing carefully looked at the corpse a few times, and then stroked his chin and pondered. So, the current conclusion may be that the victim was wearing exquisite makeup before her death. She was going to meet someone, but unexpectedly encountered misfortune. She was strangled to death with wire or rope, and then the victim was thrown into the Huainan River, and construction waste was tied around her waist. This ensured that she would not float even if she rotted. If it weren't for this case probably doesn't just have one criminal suspect, but is very likely. Secondary crime has occurred because, in my deduction, the person who killed the deceased and threw them into the Huainan River is not the same as the criminal suspect who tied construction waste to the body after disposing of it. Chapter 15, Criminal Psychology Test. The suspect is among the onlookers. What? Secondary crime? Are there two criminals? Even the experienced Su Chongxing couldn't quite believe it when he heard Su Min reach this conclusion. He exclaimed because in his previous experience, Brother Shang, you can take a look at the constrictive swelling on the deceased's wrist, and the two fingers that were cut off by a sharp object. I think these two locations can very clearly indicate that even after the murderer disposed of the body, there were still other people who came into contact with the body, and the very obvious patches of yellow mud on the buttocks of the deceased's jeans, caused by dragging, further indicate that secondary crime has occurred. Hearing this, Su Chongxing immediately looked at the locations pointed out by Su Min, the wrist with the constricting band, the cut wound, the two missing fingers, and the yellow mud on the jeans, all further confirmed the suspicion of secondary crime. Su Shang thought seriously for a few seconds, staring at the bag of construction waste placed beside him. Su Chongxing nodded slightly, quite emotionally, and said, Su Min, you've surprised me too much to be able to determine in such a short time that there is the possibility of secondary crime, and that there are two unrelated criminal suspects. This kind of deductive ability from the details of the corpse is almost on par with that of a forensic doctor. Speaking of this, Su Chongxing paused for 2 seconds and looked at Wang Hu, who was holding a camera to take pictures and record, and asked, Huzi, let me ask you, why can you tell from these details of the corpse that there is secondary crime in this case? Absorb this well, you can learn a lot from this case. Huzi couldn't help but be stunned for a moment, looked at the corpse in front of him, and using the barely passing grade he got in the police academy exam, tried to explain. First of all, the victim's corpse has 2 fingers on the left hand that have been cut off. The wound does not have fresh blood overflowing and does not appear to be infected, indicating that this injury was caused after the victim died and the body had been disposed of for some time, and someone salvaged it and cut them off. A normal murderer certainly wouldn't. Speaking of this, Huzi was already stuttering and couldn't continue, looking at Su Min with a pleading look in his eyes. It was obvious that it was a bit too difficult to ask a quasi-graduate who hadn't even graduated from police academy and had no real case experience to use the clues obtained from the corpse to explain the criminal suspect's behavior. Of course, Su Min's explanation was completely without pressure, and he could even describe it from the criminal suspect's point of view. Seeing the pleading look in Wang Hu's eyes, Su Min chuckled and then explained, from the clues currently found on the corpse, it can be clearly determined that when the deceased was disposed of in the river, someone salvaged them and damaged the corpse. But what was the purpose of this damage? Can be determined from the wrist, the mark that resembles a strangulation mark. This type of strangulation mark is basically caused by objects such as bracelets, wristbands, and watches, because the deceased was disposed of in the river, causing the wrist to swell, but because the extensibility of these objects is too poor, they cannot expand with the wrist, so strangulation marks appear. Strangling marks appear, so the object is very tightly constricted, and it is unlikely to accidentally fall off. But now this object has disappeared, which undoubtedly indicates that someone has taken the deceased's item from their wrist, since we can deduce that this person who committed the secondary crime was after the deceased's valuables. The item on the wrist is most likely a watch that can be unfastened and removed. Otherwise, the wrist would probably have been cut off, and the two missing fingers of the deceased most likely had rings on them. At the same time, the uniform yellow mud on the jeans can further explain that the deceased had been salvaged, because even if they had been killed on the ground by the murderer and dragged to dispose of the body, the absorption capacity of dry jeans is not strong, and they would dissipate a lot after being thrown into the water. There would never be such uniform yellow mud. Only when the deceased was thrown into the river and then salvaged, dragging the wet jeans along the riverbank, could so much yellow mud be absorbed, and it would not fall off even if it was thrown back into the water. And the deceased's jeans pockets contain a small amount of yellow mud, which may be traces left by the criminal suspect, taking away their mobile phone or wallet from their pockets. Carefully sort out these clues and you can roughly reconstruct the situation at that time. Su Minwi squinted his eyes and slowly opened his mouth, gently pinching his chin. I am a very good swimmer. With strong psychological endurance and not very good financial conditions, I am a resident nearby. Yesterday, when I had nothing to do, I came to Huainan River to stroll around and accidentally discovered a female corpse floating on the river. I wanted to call the police, but when I saw the watch and ring on the corpse's wrist, I thought about my need for money, so I had the idea of retrieving the body for treasure. When I first heard Su Min's words, Su Chongsheng, who was still a little confused, continued to listen to Su Min's story, suddenly widened his eyes, full of amazement and shock, because Su Min's approach is not a simple analysis of the case, but putting himself into the position of the second suspect, using psychological testing to analyze and solve the case. Being able to use this method to solve cases, this talent is simply unimaginable. At this moment, Su Min is still using the perspective of the criminal suspect to describe, taking advantage of the dim light. I, who am good at swimming and have strong psychological endurance, jumped directly into the Huainan River. I pulled the corpse back to the shore, but because the corpse was swollen from being soaked in water, the ring could not be taken off at all. So I had to go back and get a knife first, and cut off her fingers later. On the way to get the knife, I was worried that the corpse would be discovered and the police would find me through clues, so I simply used a sack to fill it with a bag of construction waste, and then tied it directly to the corpse so that it could not float up at all. In this way, I cut off 2 of the corpse's fingers and got 2 rings. I also took away the deceased's mobile phone or wallet from the pocket. This harvest is great. That watch and 2 rings look valuable, and I can try to see if the mobile phone can be repaired. I was thinking of waiting for the commotion to die down, and then sell these things, when a damn old fisherman actually caught the corpse. A large number of police came, and the corpse was also salvaged. All the surrounding neighbors went to watch the show. I am a little worried and don't know if I should run away, but I didn't kill anyone. I didn't leave any evidence last night. Don't rush to run away. Mix in with the crowd and see what clues the police can find before deciding. At this moment, Su Ming stopped describing from the criminal suspect's perspective and looked at the many old men and women outside the cordon. Then, he smiled confidently at Su Chongsheng. Brother Sheng, I think the person who committed the secondary crime is most likely one of the residents nearby. Now he is probably watching the show outside the cordon. According to the time of death and the time the corpse floated to the surface, the secondary crime probably happened last night. People from other places, or those who happen to pass by, are unlikely to have tools to commit the crime without being nearby. I think we should first ask these old men and women who are watching the scene, focusing on those who can swim. What kind of work do you do now? I've retired from everything. I can't do anything now. It's okay, old man. Next one, please. Su Ming's previous suggestion has obviously been adopted by Su Chongxing because after thinking carefully for a few seconds, the experienced Su Chongxing also agreed with Su Ming's deduction. The suspect who could commit a secondary crime on the victim's body is most likely a resident around the Huainan River, no matter from what angle you analyze it. In addition, although there are many old men and women outside the cordon, after excluding those who are too old and infirm, there are only about 10 people left. Therefore, Su Chongxing simply set up a temporary stage, and Wang Hu conducted simple inquiries one by one, while he and Su Ming stood behind to observe. Judging from the crude methods used to deal with the deceased, this suspect is definitely not very proficient in crime. Most likely, by observing the microexpressions and body movements on the face, it is possible to distinguish them roughly. As the inquiries went on one by one, the potential suspects among the nearby residents were reduced to only one middle-aged man, and this person had previously hidden behind the crowd. When Su Chongxing announced the temporary questioning, seemingly trying to find an opportunity to leave this place. At the same time, the order of questioning was also deliberately arranged to be the last. It's like wanting to hear what questions will be asked so I can prepare for them. These 2 points undoubtedly caught Su Ming's attention at this moment. When this middle-aged man, wearing an old t-shirt, casual pants, and old sandals, whose economic situation is clearly not good, stepped forward, Su Ming pressed Wang Hu's shoulder, signaling him not to speak, and then said, "Hello." "My name is Su Igua. How old are you?" The second question, too, undoubtedly made Su Igua more relaxed, and he had already prepared the answer to the next question in his mind. "What did you use to cut off the victim's fingers?" "I haven't worked in a long time. I'm unemployed, just collecting scraps and doing odd jobs on construction sites." The answer that was about to come out suddenly stopped. Su Igua was subconsciously stunned. His hands trembled slightly, forcing himself to calm down, only trembling. What question did you ask just now? What cut off? How could I cut off his fingers? I've never even met him before. I only saw him today. Are you asking the wrong person? Seeing Su Igua become obviously anxious and flustered, a mocking smile appeared on Su Ming's lips, and then he said, "Oh, asking the wrong person? You should know how to swim, right? And you're a pretty good swimmer. At least you can hold someone in the water while swimming, right? Have you ever done anything similar to a water ghost? Firefighting? Medical? Salvage? Or work related to corpses?" As soon as this question came out, Su Igua's eyes changed obviously, avoiding Su Ming's gaze, and his forehead was covered with tiny beads of sweat. "No, I haven't. I used to work on construction sites, but then the boss fired me. Before Su Igua could finish speaking, an aunt who was still watching the show nearby, and hadn't left, directly retorted loudly, "Su Igua, are you lying to the young police officer here? Weren't you working at a crematorium several years ago? And it was because you stole and hid the rings of the dead that you were reported by several family members and lost that job, and have been loafing around ever since. Where have you ever worked on a construction site? You just do odd jobs, right? Oh, I see. Damn it, you didn't kill someone, did you?" The aunt's voice was quite loud, immediately causing the surrounding spectators to start discussing. Many relevant clues came out. Su Igua really killed someone? No way. Why not? He has a criminal record. He stole rings from the dead at the crematorium. It's not just stealing things. I heard people say he owes hundreds of thousands in gambling debts. It's normal for him to kill someone. Oh, right. I suddenly remembered that Su Igua last night went home in the middle of the night and then went out again, not knowing what he went out to do. Wasn't he killing someone? Hurry up and arrest him. Otherwise, it's really hard to know what will happen if this kind of person lives near us. Maybe we'll be killed next time. The loud discussion of the masses poured into the ears of Su Ming and the other two. Going home and then going out again, these points were undoubtedly what caught the attention of the three the most. At the same time, through the verification of various clues and information, it can already be basically determined that, after the victim was killed, Su Igua committed a secondary crime, not only destroying the corpse, stealing important evidence, but also binding the corpse with construction waste. There is also the situation of helping the murderer hide the traces of the crime. It's very obvious that Su Ming's inquiry, not following the usual routine, completely made Su Igua's prepared answers useless, and he was collectively identified by many neighbors. At this moment, Su Chongsheng, the veteran criminal police officer standing behind, already understood that the first suspect was right in front of him, so he no longer held back. He threatened Su Igua with an extremely cold gaze. "Su Igua, I'm giving you one last chance. Hand over what you stole last night, and tell me all the details you know about this case. Then you still have a chance for a commutation of sentence and a reduced sentence. Otherwise, even if you're not the murderer, just hiding a corpse and destroying evidence is enough to convict you of a cover-up crime, which could keep you in jail for up to 10 years. I'm counting down from 3 now. If you still don't speak, then just don't say anything and go to the police station to talk slowly. We'll send someone to search your house again. 3, 2, 1. Just as Su Chongxing finished counting down to 3, Su Igua finally couldn't withstand the psychological pressure and shouted in a somewhat broken voice, "Let me tell you, I'll tell you everything. I didn't kill anyone at all. Didn't kill anyone. I just saw him floating on the river. Figured he was already dead. Those gestures were useless, so I just took them. I didn't do anything else. Even if I later used a rock to hold it down in the water, didn't someone still fish it out? I didn't kill him. I really didn't kill him." As the shout died down, Su Chongxing finally let out a breath and pulled out a silver handcuff from his waist, directly cuffing Su Igwa's hands, completely controlling his movements. Let's go. Take us to your house right now. I need to see all the belongings you stole from the deceased. Chapter 17. The victim's identity is confirmed. The capabilities of the Criminal Investigation Technology Department, from the emergency discovery of the body on the street, to finding a breakthrough and catching the first criminal suspect, the time used was no more than 2 hours. Moreover, this case is one of the more difficult types to solve among all homicide cases, a body dumped in a river. This efficiency undoubtedly amazed Su Chongxing and made him marvel at the horror of Su Min's logic and reasoning ability. Without any visits, without confirming the identity of the deceased, without extracting the deceased's interpersonal relationships, simply based on the observation and interpretation of the victim's body, he can achieve such a degree. It's almost like a forensic doctor, and even most forensic doctors only look for the cause of death. I'm afraid that they don't have Su Min's strong logical reasoning ability. No wonder he got a perfect score in the criminal investigation exam. The Huaihai Brigade has finally found a treasure after so many years. Arriving at Su Igwa's home, under Su Igwa's tearful confession, they quickly found 2 luxury rings, a Cartier women's watch, and the latest iPhone, and these items are in line with Su Min's previous speculations. Almost exactly the same, which is enough to prove Su Min's terrifying talent for solving cases again. The 2 rings and the women's watch, although these 2 items are expensive, cannot be used in a short time. To determine the identity of the deceased, the most important thing is to repair that water-damaged iPhone. Su Min put the searched items into a quick seal bag and looked at Su Chongxing next to him. Give his own suggestion. Brother Shang, these belongings of the deceased, the prices are not cheap, but he is wearing high imitation clothes. I think it's terrible. These rings, watches, etc. were given to him by someone. This case is likely a crime of passion. Identifying the deceased as soon as possible is the most important thing at the moment. As for Su Igwa, in my judgment, he should not know the identity of the murderer, purely just greedy for money. He's trash who dares to take the deceased's belongings. If you want to solve the case as soon as possible, don't waste too much time on Su Igwa. If he really has any information about this murder case, he would have said it all out of his head, just to reduce his sentence and spend a few more years in prison. Without further hesitation, Su Chongxing looked around the room and determined that nothing was missing. Then he waved his hand and said, "Let's go, team. After we go back, I will immediately ask the technical department to repair the phone. In addition, every second counts." The police car with Su Igwa in tow quickly drove away from the scene. The follow-up matters will be handled by the security police, striving to minimize the impact of this case. But no matter how much the impact is reduced, it is estimated that the topic of discussion for residents near the Huainan River for the next few weeks will be about this case and Su Igwa. The Huaihai Administrative Brigade, Su Igwa, who has no follow-up value for this case, was directly taken to the interrogation room for confession and detailed inquiries by other criminal police officers. And the technical staff are rushing to repair the victim's mobile phone, because this latest iPhone has added waterproof function, so even if it is thrown into the water for such a long time, repairing it is not difficult. While waiting for the phone to be repaired, Su Chongxing and Su Min came to the special case-solving conference room to discuss other breakthroughs in this case together. Wang, who went to learn how to repair flooded mobile phones and began to transform into an administrative technology department. At this moment, in the conference room, Su Min picked up the bottle of mineral water in front of him, took a sip and pointed to a quick seal bag containing small fragments on the table and slowly said, "Brother Shang, this is the fragment of skin remaining in the deceased's fingernails. I think it may represent the approximate point where the deceased was strangled to death, because normal people have a little time to resist violently when they are strangled. Even if the resistance fails, within a few seconds, he would pass out due to cerebral ischemia. But it's enough to leave some special evidence, like this piece of leather. If we were to say where the deceased could have touched and snagged the leather, according to normal deduction, it's likely in a car, on a sofa, or on a bed. These places all have a bit of privacy. The deceased could go with the murderer to such a place, which is enough to show that the relationship between the two is close, normally speaking. I think we just need to wait for the phone to be repaired to determine who contacted the deceased recently. Perhaps we can find out the criminal suspect, but this kind of clue in detail is very sensitive." But now Su Min takes out the evidence bag and states that after the problem of leather residue that the deceased did not touch, he immediately further deduced the relationship between the deceased and the murderer. Such terrifying reasoning ability and keen thinking still made Su Chongxing secretly gasp. Based on experience analysis, it can now be roughly determined that the deceased and the murderer knew each other, and it was not a random crime. Xiao Mei, continue to talk about what other clues you saw through this leather. It can be seen that in this arrest of the A-class fugitive, and the amazing performance of this murder case, Su Chongxing no longer regarded Su Min as a newcomer with a sharp edge, but as an experienced criminal police officer who can communicate on an equal footing. Su Min did not deliberately pretend to be profound and directly stated his deduction. According to our previous deduction, the deceased's economic conditions were not good, but he needed to wear high imitation clothes to save face. At the same time, those gestures and watches are genuine products. This may very well indicate that the deceased, by packaging himself, obtained those expensive gestures from a wealthy man. And the piece of leather in the evidence bag, through simple visual inspection and material analysis, belongs to the cheapest artificial leather, which most wealthy people would not use. This shows that the murderer and the person who gave the deceased the gestures are very likely not the same person, and there are at least 2 men related to the case. This is very likely a retaliatory love killing at this moment. Su Chongxing fell silent, even more understanding the meaning of what Su Min was saying. This silence was not an objection to Su Min's judgment, but a scalp-tingling amazement, fundamentally unimaginable. Please, based on such a small piece of leather, how did Su Min determine that at least 2 men were connected to the deceased? This reasoning and logical ability is simply terrifying. Just then, Wang Hu, holding the repaired phone, strode excitedly into the conference room. The phone is fixed, and the deceased's identity has been confirmed. Chapter 18. The case finally becomes clear. The kept mistress was so excited that she forgot to knock on the door. To show that she brought the deceased's phone to the conference room, that so-called desperate background image and lock screen password are not difficult to crack for the administrative technology department, or rather, in order to solve all kinds of strange cases, the current administrative technology department does not only monitor surveillance cameras. It now encompasses computer repair, phone repair, video repair, and other aspects of technology. As to who entered, Su Chongxing pointed to the external screen on the table. Squinting his eyes, he curiously asked, "Come on, who's Z? Project the phone onto the screen. At the same time, tell us about the deceased's general situation." Wang Hu took 2 steps forward while trying to project the phone onto the screen, and also narrated the latest clues. The deceased's name is Han Mengyao. She is 25 years old this year and is a migrant worker who came to Modu from elsewhere. However, her job in Modu is not a traditional office job, but rather engaging in online live streaming. This new type of labor, relying on her face and figure, although without any talent, Han Mengyao, who only chats, has also accumulated a lot of fans on the live streaming platform, with 100,000 followers. Then, I just browsed the deceased's recent WeChat chat history. I have screened out 2 of the most likely suspects. Speaking of this, Wang Hu temporarily stopped speaking, completed the phone projection settings, and then opened the WeChat interface. He clicked on the chat box that Han Mengyao had pinned to the top, the other party's nickname being labeled as Sugar Daddy. Immediately afterward, a portrait and profile from an ID card appeared on the other half of the screen. This person is fat-headed and big-eared, with a bloated and greasy face. Just from this ID photo, you can tell that they're not young. First, there's this one. A man who has many sugar daddies, just communicated with Care Network Company. We've already obtained the relevant information of 10 people. This person's name is He Lianshan. 45 years old this year, he is the chairman of a cross-border trading company. He met Han Mengyao 3 months ago. The two have a financial transaction relationship, or rather, Han Mengyao is his mistress. Looking at the live streaming gifts on the statistics platform, He Lianshan is also the person who gave the most gifts in the live stream. A few hours before the incident, He Lianshan and Han Mengyao went out to eat together. The location was in Modu Jinzuan, a famous hotel. The specific destination after the meal is unknown. This is the first suspect. Next is the second one. The screen shows another ID image. Compared to He Lianshan just now, this person is obviously much younger, but with protruding cheekbones. His sinister eyes make people feel a little uncomfortable. This suspect's name is He Yong, 27 years old, currently a warehouse employee at a logistics company. He has a criminal record of fighting 5 years ago. His relationship with Han Mengyao is now confirmed to be ex-boyfriend and girlfriend. The approximate breakup time was 2.5 months ago, which is when Han Mengyao met He Lianshan. Although Han Mengyao already hooked up with He Lianshan through the recovered chat logs, we can see very clearly that He Yong still tried many times to salvage this relationship. Sending flowers, sending food, sending milk tea, and even borrowing money to buy Han Mengyao brand name bags. But he was never able to salvage it, and even all contact methods were blacklisted. 3 years ago, He Yong seemed to have accidentally discovered that Han Mengyao was being kept by He Lianshan, and the two maintained an improper relationship for a period of time. He didn't make any phone calls or try to salvage an explanation. Instead, he simply sent Han Mengyao a text message, which read, "I know you've hooked up with a sugar daddy. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I'll drive to see you one last time. After I explain everything, I won't pester you anymore." Based on this text message, I personally believe that He Yong's probability of committing a vengeful murder is very high, even far exceeding He Lianshan's. However, to avoid accidents, we have already locked the current location of these two suspects in advance. He Lianshan is in his company, while He Yong is surfing the internet in an internet cafe. As Wang Hu introduces the two criminal suspects, Su Chongqing turns his head to look at Su Ming, who looks calm and doesn't seem surprised at all. He clenched his teeth and exclaimed, "Xiao Ming, you're really amazing. I'm really curious, where exactly did you learn so many crime-solving skills? Why is this case, which doesn't seem so simple, all within your deduction? If everything before still had traces to follow, then to be able to deduce from a small piece of leather that there are likely to be two male criminal suspects is really amazing." This is not deliberate flattery, but Su Chongqing's heartfelt sigh. He even feels a little numb. There are so many judgments, but just now, Su Ming only glanced at it a few times and came to a deduction that was almost the same. This is really unbelievable. Of course, Su Chongqing will never guess that in simulating 100,000 crimes, Su Ming doesn't know how many times he made a simple mistake in detail, such as a piece of paper, a button, a cigarette butt, or other omissions, and was successfully caught by the police. Because he made so many mistakes, he is better able to discover the mistakes and omissions of others. Practice makes perfect. That's probably the meaning. Regarding Su Chongqing's praise, Su Ming smiled nonchalantly. Then he pointed to the image on the screen and said, "Brother Shang, I think this case is almost approaching the truth. The murderer can basically be determined to be He Yong, because with He Lianshan's wealth and property, he most likely wouldn't use such cheap artificial leather. So now we only need to find out if He Yong has a car that isn't too expensive, and if there is a defect of similar size on the passenger seat, and his specific whereabouts the day before yesterday, and we should be able to get the necessary physical evidence. Then, through interrogation, we can determine the murderer in this case. As for He Lianshan, although having an affair and keeping a mistress are moral issues that we can't interfere with too much, and we can't even prosecute him, we can still bring him to our team under the guise of assisting in the investigation, which will also ruin his reputation, and give him the punishment he deserves." Su Chongqing nodded in agreement and stood up to pat Wang Hu on the shoulder. "Hu Zi, your report and organization are good, and you've considered all aspects very thoroughly. You are indeed more suitable. Administrative technology section in this direction. Okay, I won't say anything else for now. Prepare for action. Immediately arrest the two criminal suspects." Chapter 19. Collect physical evidence, irrefutable truth. Blue River Cross-Border Trading Company. He Lianshan, fat and greasy, with a beer belly, is spewing saliva wildly. Quickly taking action in the past 2 days, due to the company's decision-making errors, a lot of business and commercial orders have been lost, making him have no time to find Han Mengyao, to properly experience a young body, and having to face the old hag at home every day. That really leaves no desire at all, if it weren't for the fact that most of the company's shares are still in the hands of his father-in-law. He probably would have thrown the divorce agreement in his wife's face long ago. After quickly finishing his meal, just as He Lianshan returned to the office, preparing to video call Han Mengyao to take some verbal advantage and flirt a little, a full 6 uniformed police officers walked into the company. After showing their police IDs to the front desk, they directly pushed the door into the chairman's office. Amidst He Lianshan's astonished gaze, the lead police officer placed the summons on the table and directly took out silver handcuffs, cuffing He Lianshan's hands. Speaking in a cold tone, "He Lianshan, right? This is the Huaihai Administrative Brigade. This is the Huaihai Administrative Brigade. We highly suspect that you are related to a homicide case. We need you to go to the police station to cooperate with the investigation." He Lianshan, who was about to loudly question the police officers, heard that he was related to a homicide case, and immediately became anxious, and quickly said, No, officers. Isn't there some mistake? How could I be related to a homicide case? I've been very busy at the company these days. I simply don't have the time." Before He Lianshan finished speaking, the police officer controlling the summons at the front desk directly grabbed the middle of the handcuffs, pulled He Lianshan up, and said expressionlessly, "You know Han Mengyao, right? The mistress you've been keeping. She had an accident 2 days ago. She was found, and now it is seriously suspected that you are related to her death. We need you to cooperate with the investigation. Don't keep rambling. Say whatever you have to say during the interrogation. This news made He Lianshan suddenly widen his eyes, and he was even more incredulous. Dead? Dead? How is that possible? She was fine 2 days ago. Halfway through his words, He Lianshan suddenly remembered that this was at the company, and he absolutely couldn't let his wife and father-in-law know about his mistress. He quickly shut his mouth. Without struggling at all, he let the police take him away, leaving all the questions and words for the interrogation. Rather than arguing endlessly at the company, it was better to follow the police obediently, explain everything clearly, and clear his own suspicion. But even though he reacted quickly, the news that the boss was taken away by the police still spread rapidly throughout the entire company. The matter of the kept mistress being killed also imperceptibly reached his wife's and his father-in-law's ears. At the same time, in Huaihai District, inside the Haichao Internet Cafe in the Northern District, Su Min, Wang Hu, Su Chongsheng and others in plain clothes, separately from the front and back doors, with the help of the front desk internet administrator, quickly locked onto He Yong, who was sitting in the corner of the internet cafe. Today, He Yong was wearing a cheap dark black leather jacket, faded long denim jeans and sporting greasy hair. From the disheveled state of this hair, as well as the 2 bowls of instant noodle boxes next to the computer, it could be easily judged that He Yong had been in the internet cafe for a long time, most likely since after the murder. He had been in this internet cafe. This kind of behavior is very normal in past cases. Many criminal suspects, after committing a crime, will fall into fear and panic. He Yong clearly belonged to the second type. Although he had a criminal record, he was still hiding in the internet cafe, numbing himself through games and staying up late. While He Yong was typing on the keyboard playing games, Su Min and other police officers had already walked silently to the side, ready to carry out the arrest operation at any time. The experienced Su Chongxing took the lead, went up and patted He Yong on the shoulder, pretending to be angry, and shouted, "He Yong, why are you still surfing the internet? The boss told you to go to work. Don't you know? Don't you want this job anymore?" Although he had already confirmed the suspect's identity, "Go to what work? Don't ***king bother me." Before he finished speaking, Su Chongxing saw that He Yong did not subconsciously refute his name, and quickly pressed his head onto the table with both hands. Bang! He Yong's head hit the computer desk hard, just as he wanted to use force to resist. Su Min, Wang Hu and others had already swarmed up, pressing He Yong down tightly. Pulling his hands behind his back, she directly took out the handcuffs and secured them, ensuring the suspect couldn't resist. Su Min took out her badge from her pocket and flashed it in front of He Yong, saying, "I'm a police officer. You are suspected of being involved in a homicide case and need to cooperate with the investigation, He Yong. Han Mengyao, you should know her, right?" When the name Han Mengyao was mentioned, He Yong's pupils noticeably contracted. His voice was quite hoarse and indifferent as he said, "I don't know her. I don't know what you're talking about. You've arrested the wrong person. I've been playing games at Haichao Internet Cafe for the past few days." Su Min raised her eyebrows with disdain. Shaking her head, she started searching He Yong's body, saying, "I find it strange, He Yong. Why would you specifically explain that you were at the internet cafe, while saying you don't know Han Mengyao? Isn't that a bit too obvious? Okay. I've already found the car keys, you don't need to explain anymore. You can slowly explain at the police station during interrogation." Su Min took the car keys from He Yong's pocket and looked at Su Chongsheng, who was subtly gesturing towards He Yong's shoulder. "Brother Sheng, I'll go find He Yong's car. There should be the victim's residual DNA as evidence, as well as the piece of car leather torn by the victim's fingernails." Su Chongxing nodded, pulled He Yong up, and covered his head with a coat, saying, "Okay, then that's settled. Xiao Ming, I'll take He Yong back first. There are many people in the internet cafe, so we can't stay too long to avoid causing a big disturbance." After saying that, Su Chongxing pulled He Yong out of the internet cafe, with 3 or 4 other detectives assisting. To prevent the suspect from escaping, Su Min, on the other hand, wasn't in a hurry to go to the internet cafe's parking lot. Instead, she and Wang Hu went to the front desk to copy the surveillance footage from the past 5 days, just in case they needed it later. Then, in the internet cafe's parking lot, using the remote, they found He Yong's not-so-expensive used car. Using the key to open the passenger seat door, Su Min looked directly at the upper right of the passenger seat headrest. The damaged leather was from the victim's right fingernails. When a person is strangled, they subconsciously resist. The arm will involuntarily reach upwards, so the damage point of the leather will roughly be in the position of the headrest 3 seconds later. Su-min clearly saw a nail-sized defect on the upper right side of the passenger seat headrest, also full of self-confidence. Now there is enough physical evidence. The 20th, your inferior crime, is full of loopholes in my eyes. The collection of criminal evidence is not pure. Only comparing the leather damage is only because, by comparing the car leather damage, can most quickly determine Hee-young's criminal facts. Due to Hee-young after the murder, the whole person is in a state of fear, afraid that the case will be exposed, so there is no car. What deliberate cleaning and disposal? Su-min has quickly found many clues in this used car. First of all, is the seat belt in the passenger seat. On this somewhat old black seat belt, Su-min has clearly seen a dried, faint bloodstain, shaped like a half-finger wide, 5 centimeters long strip, can roughly determine. This is the victim's violent struggle after being strangled, causing the fragile capillaries on her neck to rupture, staining some blood on the seat belt. Due to the limited amount of bleeding from the capillaries, the traces are naturally not obvious at the same time. Also on the passenger seat, found several strands of female hair. Through the technical section's rapid DNA identification, it can be determined that the blood on the seatbelt and the car hair are from the victim. Finally, Su-min retrieved the driving recorder's video recording, the driving recorder that can automatically shoot and save. In a sense, it is excellent video evidence, but unfortunately, the driving recorder does not have the video recording of the night before yesterday, or it was deliberately abandoned by Hee-young off, although there is no video image record. But the act of deliberately turning off the driving recorder, plus the part of the video that is missing, is the time period when Han Mengyao was killed. This is enough to prove that Hee-young's murder of Han Mengyao was not a temporary idea. It can be called ironclad evidence. Within the Huaihai Criminal Investigation Brigade, the 3 criminal suspects related to this homicide and body disposal case have now been arrested and brought back to the case. Su Igwa and He Lianshan, who had lighter circumstances, one confessed to the crime and was temporarily detained awaiting court trial, and the other sat in the mediation room waiting for family members to sign and bail him out. However, when He Lianshan's wife came, it wasn't just to bail him out. She also brought a divorce agreement that was hastily prepared by a lawyer, and Hee-young, the already confirmed murderer after being detained, was directly taken to the interrogation room to conduct a surprise interrogation as soon as possible, after sorting out the general evidence and clues. Su-min and Su Chongsheng, who were most familiar with this case, directly pushed open the door and walked into the interrogation room. At this moment, Hee-young, who was detained in the interrogation chair, had messy and greasy hair, and his eyes were dull. His legs swayed from side to side, and his restrained hands were also twisting and struggling slightly, enough to see the unease in his heart. Su-min and Su Chongsheng came to the interrogation table opposite Hee-young and sat down, turning on the camera next to them for recording. Although most interrogation rooms now have surveillance installed, the vast majority of criminal investigation teams still require the use of cameras for close-range recording. To avoid any other accidents, now that the case has progressed this far, whether Hee-young confesses or not, the fact that the suspect committed murder is no longer that important because there is currently enough physical evidence to confirm Hee-young's criminal facts. Even if he continues to be stubborn in court, he will not escape the punishment of the law, but what needs to be done still cannot be omitted. Su Chongsheng tapped the table lightly, drawing Hee-young's attention from his daze. With a cold expression, he said, "Hee-young, I don't want to waste time on you. The evidence we need to master our police already have. Stop thinking about deceiving and denying. Confess leniently, resist strictly. If we have a good talk, maybe we can give you a chance for a lighter sentence. Now think carefully. When did you meet with Han Mengyao a few days ago?" Hee-young, pale and weak, slowly raised his head to look at Su Chongsheng, revealing an expression of utter despair, and cried out, "Officer, really? No. I really didn't see Han Mengyao the day before yesterday. We broke up 3 months ago, and she even blocked me on WeChat. I only just found out about Han Mengyao's murder." Clearly, although extremely nervous and afraid, Hee-young has not considered confessing, but hopes to muddle through, believing that the police do not have much evidence. Su Chongsheng frowned slightly and slammed the table heavily, scolding impatiently, "Hee-young, you have a criminal record. Don't you understand how the police station works? Still trying to quibble and not cooperate, huh? I'll give you one last chance. Immediately give a complete account of how you lured Han Mengyao out and murdered her, and I will try my best to get you this opportunity." Not receiving Hee-young's approval, he instead clenched his teeth and continued to retort, "Officer, I really don't know. Han Mengyao was indeed my ex-girlfriend, but we broke up 3 months ago and haven't been in contact. I really don't know what happened. Can't I even tell the truth? Or do you want me to lie?" and admit to murder to make it easier for you to close the case. Su Chongsheng completely lost patience, tapped the table lightly with his fingers, looked at He-yong, who was stubbornly refusing to admit it, and said sternly, "Now you have lost the opportunity to surrender and confess. There are no means to reduce your sentence in this case. Su Ming, show him the evidence we've collected." Su Ming, who was sitting next to him, did not immediately take out the evidence to show, but looked at He-yong and sneered, "If I were you, after committing such a flawed case, I would definitely not stubbornly deny it. It's just too stupid. Do you know what your biggest problems are in this case?" Speaking to hear, Su Ming paused for 2 seconds, looked at the dull-looking He-yong, and ridiculed with rich criminal experience. "First, since you had already decided to commit murder, you actually sent a text message to the victim as a warning. Were you afraid the victim wouldn't know? Or were you afraid the police wouldn't find out? Second, in order to prevent the dashcam from exposing you, you turned it off, but you only turned it off for a few hours, which was the time you committed the crime. So why didn't you just remove the dashcam, or pour water on it to short-circuit it? Third, you chose strangulation as the method of murder. Couldn't you bear to buy some iron wires? Couldn't you bear to buy some iron wires or packing thread, and had to use the seatbelt in the car? As a result, the victim's blood remained on it, and you panicked and didn't know how to clean it. Even the seat was torn, and you didn't know how to repair it. Fourth, forget it, I won't say any more. With such a low-level criminal method, you're still stubbornly refusing to admit it? I might as well just show you the evidence, and not waste any time." After saying this, Su Ming picked up several evidence bags that he had brought, and pointed to them. "This is the seat belt from the passenger seat of your car. It has the victim Han Mengyao's dried blood on it. This is the leather from Han Mengyao's fingernails, which matches the damage to the passenger seat in your car. This is..." As Su Ming picked up the evidence bags one by one, He-yong's eyes were full of fear, and his face became even paler. His cheeks puffed out and he bit his teeth hard, especially when he thought of the details of the crime that Su Ming had mentioned earlier, which he had not noticed. The string in He-yong's brain finally snapped, his emotions collapsed, and he was infinitely terrified. Su Ming's slow narrative was interrupted by a collision sound. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, He-yong slammed his head against the interrogation room, and worthless tears fell like rain. His voice hoarse as he cried, "It's all his fault. It's all his fault. Who told him not to support me? Who told him to sleep with someone else? Who told him to leave me? So what if you have money? I just don't have money. Don't I just not have money?" Chapter 21, Major Discovery. The killer is left-handed. He-yong, realizing that persisting in being stubborn is meaningless, is still emotionally broken down, repeatedly hitting his head hard on the interrogation chair with snot and tears streaming down his face. However, these tears are clearly shed out of fear of being punished by the law. Like crocodile tears, they are worthless. Regret might have meaning, but it's also useless. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have done it in the first place. 3 hours later, with enough evidence to convict him, He-yong finally confessed how he lured the deceased into the car and every process of committing the crime. Every detail, even the psychological changes, were confessed truthfully. With He-yong's confession this time, and the previous evidence, the trial of this murder and body disposal case progressed extremely quickly. The 3 criminal suspects associated with the case, He Lianshan, who violated morality but did not commit a clear crime, was bailed out by his wife. However, due to the exposure of his affair, he ended up with nothing in the divorce. The shares of the trading company he originally held were also ruthlessly taken back by his father-in-law. From a wealthy boss, he instantly fell to rock bottom. His former glory and assets were gone. And Su Igua, who committed the crime of stealing the victim's body, was charged with theft, insulting a corpse and harboring a criminal. However, due to his good attitude in admitting his guilt, and considering that no serious consequences were caused, he was ultimately sentenced to 4 years in prison. As for the killer in this case, He-yong, after the judge reviewed the file and signed the judgment, he also gave an extremely fair sentence. Because before the murder, the victim had already chosen to end the relationship between the two, so there was no betrayal. Instead, He-yong repeatedly harassed her unilaterally, and He-yong's idea of killing was premeditated, rather than an accident in which He-yong lost control of his emotions during an argument. This is purely intentional homicide. After the murder, instead of choosing to surrender himself, he adopted the method of disposing of the body to avoid punishment, causing extremely bad social impact. At the same time, when facing police questioning, he tried to muddle through without choosing to confess the crime directly, with no guidance for any discretionary mitigation of punishment. He was ultimately sentenced to death and deprived of political rights for life. Of course, details about the court and He-yong's appeal against the verdict are all afterwards to this case. On the third day after the case occurred, Hyung, who was confirmed to have committed the crime, was already sent to the detention center. Awaiting the court's specific verdict, this murder case was solved in less than a day. Moreover, the fact that it was mainly led by Su Ming, who hasn't even graduated yet, is undoubtedly astonishing. But the essence of a detective is to solve cases, plus it was only shortened by 17 periods recently. So, the police force didn't give any special reward, just at the end of the month. Giving out a bonus of 500 yuan as a token of appreciation, Su Ming has become idle again within the Huaihai Administrative Brigade, carefully analyzing various clues and case files related to the motorcycle university dismemberment case. Of course, murder cases don't happen every day. When there are no missions, analyzing these unsolved case files should yield quite a few gains. As for Wang Hu, he has completely switched to the administrative technology direction. Now he is specifically learning from seniors how to repair mobile phones, restore clues, and observe analysis. The sky-eye surveillance of various streets, the number of cases that criminal police and public security police need to handle each year is different. It might not be much, but they're all major cases. So, if a case is solved quickly, there's still quite a bit of rest time. Like now, Su Chongsheng, equally idle waiting for a task, holds a steaming cup of wolfberry tea. He slowly walks to Su Min's side, glances at the computer screen, blows away the steam from the cup, and takes a light sip. He casually asks, "The 5.13 dismemberment case file, the neighbor asked you to look at it, right? Any new discoveries or gains?" Su Min didn't look up at Su Chongsheng, but gently shook his head, sighing helplessly. There are indeed some discoveries and gains, but for this 20-year-old case, whether it's useful, I'm not so sure, because 20 years is really too long. If I had been at the crime scene at the time, perhaps I could have caught traces left by the murderer. But now it's really too difficult. But I can say with 100% certainty that as long as this murderer strikes again, with that special style of committing crimes, we can definitely dig out more clues. Obviously, this is Su Min's unique confidence, gained from watching and analyzing these files in recent days. In fact, Su Min can roughly judge that this 5.13 motorcycle university dismemberment case is not as perfect as it seems. It's not that difficult to solve, it's just that, for example, after this dismemberment case occurred, basically, all administrative priorities were placed on finding other body parts and the victim's social relationships. Not analyzed promptly, possibly leading to missed clues, Su Chongsheng stood quietly nearby. Hearing Su Min's discovery of a new clue, Su Chongsheng raised an eyebrow and said, "Xiao Min, really? We've practically worn out the files for this case. You can still find new clues? When I first came to the team, the neighboring precinct also had me go through these files. But haven't we investigated everything? Where else could there be a clue? However, with these administrative methods, we should be able to apprehend him. But sadly, now nearly 20 years have passed, and the perpetrator of this dismemberment case has seemingly vanished into thin air. For so many years, no similar criminal methods have emerged. Sometimes I wonder, could it be that this perpetrator is no longer alive? Or perhaps, could the perpetrator who committed such a brutal dismemberment case truly be so clear-headed and restrained as to not commit another crime? What exactly is preventing us from finding him? It's truly unknown. Or perhaps, if the neighboring precinct wasn't still so fixated on this dismemberment case, perhaps this case would never find the true perpetrator. Actually, when administrative technology wasn't so advanced, the number of unsolved cases wasn't small. Many were ultimately lost to history because they couldn't find the perpetrator. An unsolved case like the Moda University dismemberment case, that is occasionally brought up again, is truly rare. At this moment, Su Chongsheng sighed softly, shook his head, and continued. "I'm talking too much. Getting back to the point, Xiao Min, what new clues have you discovered?" Su Min didn't offer much opinion regarding Su Chongsheng's sentiments. He opened several photos of the victim's body that he had saved from the case files. He said very seriously, "Brother Sheng, many people can deduce that the perpetrator of this dismemberment case is skilled with knives, has a strong psychological tolerance, and has severe obsessive-compulsive disorder, etc., which are characteristics that can't precisely determine an identity. But from the cuts and muscle texture of the victim's body, I see some information, and that is, the perpetrator's understanding of the human body is far beyond our original assumptions, because he used his non-dominant hand to cut up the victim's body. Simply put, the perpetrator is a left-handed person." Chapter 22. Su Min brought brand new administrative technology, shocking Su Chongsheng. The perpetrator is left-handed. The conclusion that Su Min made caused Su Chongsheng to be stunned for a moment, and then, immediately leaned forward, looking at the screen with a face full of shock and bewilderment. Wait, Xiaomin, where did you deduce that the perpetrator is left-handed? As for the dissected body's muscle texture and cuts, isn't there a certain amount of randomness? Can that really be used as a clue to deduce things? Clearly, Su Min's deduction of the perpetrator's dominant hand from the victim's body's cuts and muscle force, that was indeed beyond Su Chongqing's comprehension.